Good evening and welcome to 31 Horror Nights 2022. It's October 1st and tonight's movie is Nope. I said in my little community post that I would begin with the biggest horror movie of 2022. I think I said arguably because I don't know how to verify that, but if you read that, you might have been able to guess that it was going to be this. To begin with, I cannot take this title seriously. It's not the brevity. We've established that Jordan Peele likes really short movie titles, but why did they have to go with Nope? They could have gone with Don't or Stop or even No, but Nope? Nope is what people on the internet say when they see spiders. It's not something I'm going to be taking seriously. Well, on the bright side, this is the first Jordan Peele movie I'm going into knowing absolutely nothing about the plot or what's going to happen. I haven't read any synopses. I've been completely unspoiled for this movie. This movie stars Daniel Kaluuya, who was in Get Out, and Keke Palmer, who I like a lot. From what I can see from the trailer, it seems to be about aliens. The trailer was very vague, though. So far, Jordan Peele has a decent track record in Horror Nights. I thought that Get Out was decent and Us was amazing, so I'm expecting this movie to at least be okay. Let's go find out. First order of business, there is nothing this movie showed me that changed my mind about Nope not being the right title for this movie. I think that they could have just called it No instead. Yes, the main character, OJ, played by Daniel Kaluuya, does say Nope a couple times, but I don't really think it was the right choice. And now that that's out of the way, Nope was pretty good. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I liked it more than Get Out, but I still think that Us is better. What's really weird about this movie is that there's a tonal shift, like right at the beginning of the third act. I can't really go into detail about that until the spoiler parts, but there's definitely a point where the movie sort of shifts gears. I can, however, talk about the two main characters without going into spoilers. The two main characters are OJ, played by Daniel Kaluuya, and his sister M, played by Keke Palmer. I really like the dynamic that these two had with each other. They're very, very different people. OJ is very quiet, introverted, doesn't really seem to like other people. He just seems to like horses more. And Keke Palmer's character, Emerald, M, is just outgoing and boisterous and fun. She was my favorite character in the movie, definitely. I especially love the way that these two worked off of each other. I also really got to give credit for the dialogue because they managed to make sort of funny but still believable interactions in this movie, and it also knew the time and place for little bits of levity. I remember in It Chapter 2, for example, they just did not know when to stop with the little quips. One thing I will say about this movie is that it's kind of hard to follow. There was one really big plot element that was implied and I wasn't able to pick up on it, and I had to read the Wikipedia article after watching the movie this time in order to get that. The plot summary, as detailed as I can without really going into spoilers, is that OJ owns this ranch that has horses for filming and movies and TV and stuff like that. And one night, he and his sister, they experience strange phenomena, like electronics just going dead, and OJ sees a UFO in the sky. Even that might be saying a little bit too much, but overall, I do enjoy the way that the first part of this movie was done. This movie is a horror movie for the first 2/3 of it, and it's something else at the end of it, but the horror movie part I thought was done very well. There's a lot of really long, slow tracking shots of people walking around. They definitely know how to make the audience uncomfortable in a way that doesn't feel just forced. There was one pretty bad jump scare, but for the most part, it doesn't use such cheap tactics. I'd say that my main gripes with the movie is that it's kind of hard to follow at times, and there definitely is a tonal shift towards the end, which may or may not be a good thing depending on who you are. For me, it was just kind of odd, not terrible, but I don't know if it was totally needed. If you liked Get Out and Us, you're probably gonna like Nope just fine. It's not, totally in the same category as those movies. I wouldn't call it a true horror movie. It's more like a horror hybrid. But I still think that there's a lot to like in Nope. And now to go into spoilers, because wow, there are a lot of spoilers for this movie. To begin with, the UFO looks like a flying saucer. It makes electronics just go haywire and go dead, even things that are attached to batteries, like phones. And it is able to camouflage itself to look like a cloud. The reason why nobody noticed this giant thing in the sky is because it looks like a cloud, and the only suspicious thing about it is that it doesn't move. M suggests that they get footage of it and try to sell that footage because this is seriously a groundbreaking discovery. But things stop being fun rather quickly. Turns out this is not a flying saucer. It's not a spaceship. It's an actual flying creature, and it eats people. I definitely think that the design for this thing is very interesting. It kind of has two forms. Like, the first form legitimately just looks like a flying saucer. There's nothing organic in its shape at all. It's very flat and like perfectly round. It's like a stingray almost in shape with this big giant mouth at the bottom. But it also has another form. I guess it's battle form or something. It's like, it looks really interesting. It's like a giant cloth jellyfish or a hot air balloon come to life. A local showman has been feeding it a new horse every single week and has even made like a weekly show of it with a bunch of spectators watching. But I guess that it lost its fear of humans because one night it just decides, no, I'm gonna eat all of these too. In fact, it seemed to have eaten everything except for the horse. There's also an interesting callback because one of the opening scene, I think the opening scene of the movie is OJ's dad dying because a coin fell out of the sky and like impaled him in the head, and a bunch of other random tiny things are falling out of the sky, and that's revealed later in the movie when this creature like eats people. It like spits out like non-organic matter, so things like keys and coins and rings start falling from the sky, as well as a torrential downpour of blood. I said there was definitely a tonal shift in the last act. This kind of goes from a sci-fi horror movie to sort of a Western almost, but instead of getting the bad guy out of town, it's killing this giant flying spaceship monster. Their plan is very complicated, a little too complicated to go into detail here, but the two siblings, a guy from a tech store named Angel and a filmmaker named Holst, they come together to try to lure the creature out, kill it, and also get footage of it before anyone else can. It's sort of like the last part of Jaws, except exponentially weirder. And I gotta say, the CGI in this movie is very, very good. It almost looks like it's really there. I'd say that a majority of the movie's issues come from that tonal shift in the last act. In the last act, things become really difficult to follow. That big plot point that I didn't catch was the fact that that showman was actually buying up a bunch of the horses at their ranch to feed to the monster every week. And also, these characters sure mumble a lot when they're trying to explain things. So it feels different from the rest of the movie, and at the point where there's a lot of things being explained, it's kind of hard to follow. Still, even with that, I do think that they stuck the landing with this finale. Without getting too specific, I do believe that Nope has a satisfying conclusion. Nope is a very interesting movie. It's good, but pretty much just as much, it's also strange. It's a mashup of different genres, it's a mashup of different tones. It's very weird, but it is still put together very well. And it also has demonstrated that Jordan Peele is pretty diverse with his movies. They're all sort of horror, but all three of his movies are very different. And while Us is still far and away my favorite, I did think that Nope was pretty good. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.